AC, Wrong to Strong, born and raised in Chicago, South Side. Valerie is my daughter's godmother, and Dee's my daughter's godfather. I packed all my stuff and left, and I was leaving Chicago because it was starting to get really bad for me, where, a lot of catching up to me. I robbed a lot of people. I did a lot of bad stuff, man. I was a bad person, man. And Kay knew, that X is just pretty hardcore, and whatever it is that he does is not a secret, so.
Do it every time, man. Every time, man. Every time they do it to me.
Rapper DMX found himself in an Arizona courtroom again Tuesday, and he wasn't happy about it.
They gotta be quiet about it. I get my rights violated, but I gotta be quiet about it.
Kay cared about him and wanted him to stay out of trouble, and I don't know if I said it in my last interview, but he got really mad at me because on his wedding, when X was there, I was getting high, and and I was offering X if he wanted some.
Yo, X, got some bad news. Kato's dead, man.
What?
Yeah, Kato's dead, man.
You can't be serious, man.
He didn't like when his friends used drugs. He wasn't a user. He smoked weed, but that was it. And he didn't like when his people that he cared about used. So he told me just look out for X. Take care of him. He always would put people on people that he would care about, like security. And obviously that was something that I did for a long time. Yeah, I was working in construction, so I would go check on him on the weekends. My girlfriend at the time, was pregnant, had my daughter Valerie. Valerie actually, my daughter's actually named after Valerie, Kato's wife, and my son is actually named after Kato, Rudy. At the time, my girlfriend Angelica, we had the baby shower for her. Valerie actually flew in for the baby shower, and Valerie is my daughter's godmother, and Dee's my daughter's godfather. One day we were at Best Buy, and one of his albums on the front, the CD, and my daughter was little at the time, and she was like, "Oh, look at my tío." And some lady was standing next to us, and she's like, "Oh no, honey, that's DMX." And she's like, "Yeah, it's my tío." And it was just funny seeing her saying that because she was sure of what she was saying, and the lady was trying to correct her. And I turned around, I got a little pissed, and I turned around, and I was like, "Yeah, that's her godfather." And she was like, "Oh, I'm sorry." Like, mind your own fucking business. Yeah. We were really tight, man. We were really tight at one point in life. We've used together. It was when I was using pretty heavy. I think a lot of celebrities do it, just like a lot of normal people do it. But I think a lot of people are ashamed to talk about it. I don't think he's ever been ashamed to talk about it. It's been all over the news and everything. So it's like, at first when I was cleaning up my act and I started Wrong to Strong, I was like, should I talk about, my crack use? Should I talk about how I spent, days and nights, locked in the room with the shades down and peeping out the, down under the door and paranoid and afraid? And should I talk about that? Are people going to judge me? And what I realized is that in order for me to help these people get onto the second chapter, I have to actually tell my story and able to help these people change their lives. So I started talking about it. It's nothing that I'm, too proud of. I got high, I smoked crack. I would lock myself in a room with him, and we would, sit there paranoid, and, it was a shitty time. His manager at the time, sometimes would call me, and I would be with a few people that would actually be able to talk some sense into him. So they would call me when he would have to be at the studio and he wasn't there, if I knew where he was at or if I could go get him. So we had a pretty tight relationship like that. Yeah, I had to go look for him. Sometimes he would lock himself in these places on the south side, and and we would have to go get him. It was turning into a full-time job that I really didn't like doing too much. He's been one of those rappers that I know, man, that doesn't walk around with no bodyguard, he's not afraid to be in the hood. He's not afraid. Phoenix loves DMX. Phoenix loves X. He's a fucking god in Phoenix. And he had a special breed called they're called Turtle Busters, and it's a pit bull. It's a pretty big pit bull, a pretty big head, and he would breed them at his house, but he would never sell any of them. He would keep them all, and he would have 2-3 rooms just full with kettles, and all the dogs would be in there.
Didn't he get raided by the Humane Society?
Yes, he did.
Do you think were they just harassing him, or were the dogs?
No, they were harassing him. He doesn't believe in fighting dogs. None of that bullshit. All that shit's fake media shit. He loves his fucking dogs. If you know his story, he was homeless and he walked the streets with a pit. He trusts a dog more than he trusts a human. So
probably smart.
Yeah, he doesn't believe in hurting fucking animals. When they raided him, it was because of that caregiver that was there, and something happened where one of the dogs passed away, and he buried him. It was just a long story. I don't know the full story, but it had nothing to do with him. But of course, he got all the backlash of everything. I mean,
you know what it is? I can tell you where I'm coming from without you even going to it. What it is that it's slick talk. It's slick talk. It's not something that is to be taken literally. Evidently, if I was doing that, I wouldn't be rapping.
At the time, the sheriff, Arpaio, didn't want him there. So whatever he could do to get him out.
Arpaio just like being on the news.
Yes. I mean, when he raided his house, he went over there with a fucking tank.
Oh, Arpaio, I personally met him when I was in Tent City Jail.
Who takes a fucking tank to go raid a house, especially a celebrity?
Joe Arpaio.
So, he took a tank, knocked down half of the fucking house. It was extreme to go get him. So it was all a show, to be whatever on the news or whatever when they arrested him.
What fun stuff did you do with DMX?
I mean, we used to go forward all the time. There were some big trails in the back, and then when we got heavily involved with the Rough Riders in Phoenix, we were always out riding, going to strip clubs. It was pretty. We were pretty known. I mean, we were one of the first bike clubs in Phoenix to actually, start a big, that bike lifestyle where, we had our own clubhouse that was not a MC pretty much, like the Hells Angels and Mongols, stuff like that. But we had our own clubhouse. We had a steak night. We would ride together about 20, 30 deep. We would go to the strip clubs. And when he got raided, they were starting to confiscate stuff from his house. They started taking the four-wheelers and stuff like that. And he asked me to start moving his lowriders out of the house so he wouldn't lose them. And at the time, I was working a normal 9-to-5 job, so I didn't really have money. So, I was paying out of pocket to move all the cars out. And, got them all out. Ended up losing one of the cars. I parked it somewhere I shouldn't have parked it. And I think the girl at the time played me kind of shady, said that somebody towed it, whatever. And I lost one of the cars, and he got all of his feelings about it, and we had a really big fallout, where he thought that I was, taking a car that was, honestly, it was a piece of shit, but, I got to the point where I was like, look, I'm not on your payroll. I'm doing this because you're my friend, so at that time I was like, I'm done. Like, you take care of yourself, I'll see you later. And that was it. Like, after that, I never looked back at trying to do anything for him.
How are El Chapo, DMX, and the Four Corner Hustlers gang of Chicago all connected? It's quite an interesting story.
I'll make sure that you pay him more this time. So I got 10,000 on my second one, and I'm like, all right, so, you know, what if I can make more?